Co-workers here. We got Patty Fogg over here and Bruce Fahey over there. And we have also with us here our president of the Board of Trustees here in the library, Sharon Russell Fowler over here. So we're ready. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming tonight toward the first Poetry Power Hour Poetry Jam. We are happy to have two, actually 10 great poets today, with two headliners from Newark area who are professional poets. We have Don Krypton over here, and we got James C. Ellerbe over here as well. And we've got a great lineup of other poets that are going to be showing all locally from Okay, so we're going to get started right away without further ado. So let's bring up our first one. Let's bring Don Krypton from Newark.
Beautiful, beautiful. How's everybody doing this evening? This is very interesting, a very beautiful venue, certainly, seeing the ocean from where I am. I'm going to be lost out there for the most part, so I apologize in advance. My name is Don Krypton. I am the general manager of a poetry organization from Newark, New Jersey called Veilleux Culture. As you can see it on the back here. We are having, thank you very much, we're actually having our open mic show at NJ Pack Arts Ed Building in Newark, New Jersey. That'll be this Saturday as well. So if you want more information on that, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay? All right. So let's get into our pieces. I do have a book out called Illogical. It was the foreword was done by James Ellerbe himself, one of my inspirations for doing poetry. So that's beautiful. And it was actually edited by one of my friends in the room, Megan. So that's it. Everything came out perfectly. So I'm working on my second book, which is actually going to be a kind of a comparison between the life of me and the life of Vice President Aaron Burr. Now, I'm assuming some people in the room have seen Hamilton or heard the stories. Why would I compare myself to someone who's supposed to be the bad guy? Exactly. So number one thing, if you didn't know, Aaron Burr is or was from the greater Newark area. So the first thing you want to find out from someone like me is you wonder how an old founding father and a black kid from the hood, what do they have in common? First and foremost, Jersey boys, they do it differently. Those of us from that greater Newark area are much bolder and grow up with a permanent chip on our shoulders. And that thing is the size of New York. We're not talking about just the city, we talking the whole damn state. And don't ever question our weight. The way we carry it helps marinate our gait. I think the part that gets us the most is playing second fiddle to the loud and the flashy, the ones that brag and boast, and taking the blame from the things that others put on us. And having to wear a crown of thorn despite deserving a crown of jewel. And despite being the Garden State, they try to call us stinky, even though the only parts that have the problems are the ones closest to the cities. And no, not ours. We're talking New York and Philly. But let's be Christian about it, right? 1 Corinthians 1533, bad associations, spoil useful habits. So us Jersey boys fully know how that can happen. And even though we are great, we hang around people without that right mind state, passing on to us some of them terrible traits, and then they go out and shout on their milk crates. But we're the bad guys when we come to our senses and push them off that pedal. We're the bad guys for telling them to leave our shore because they make us look bad. We're the bad guys for telling them to get the F out of the left lane because that's where we fly, and you are in my way. We're the bad guys when we stand up for ourselves and someone else happens to get hurt in the process. So you wonder what an old white founding father and a black kid from the hood have in common, whether it be from the Port of Elizabeth to the city of Princeton, to the College of Princeton, from the city of bricks to the parks of Asbury, whether they be as big as Shaq or as small as Danny DeVito, the one thing that everyone on this third rock from the sun knows is that Jersey boys know how to get it done. Appreciate it. And it's just a lot as far as going through somebody else's life and seeing all of those similarities, seeing all of those comparisons that you could do, and it's really very interesting. Let me see, let's go with, so I knew it, you try to keep everything in your phone, everything's in different folders. When you try to put things from one side to another, it goes like sideways. I'm trying to figure out where everything is. But, yeah, that's what we got. And I work in computers, so that's the bad part. I'm an IT guy, so. Absolutely. Okay, so this part here is just someone who seems to have been in the indecision. One thing that we knew about Aaron Burr is that he liked to stay centrist as much as possible, but that led to his downfall. This is called split decision. I always seem to be in a fight between taking your chance and shooting your shot or just letting it be. I shoot at A when it should have been B, and when I choose B, I wasn't aware that the option was C, and when I hesitate or wait too late or intentionally stall myself out and wait too long, I ultimately end up wrong. And to you, it might sound like the same old song, but for me, it makes me feel the opposite of strong. I put up my hands, and I have no time to attack. Even when I go to block, I'm slow to react, so not only is time passing me by, I'm left with a black eye. Fighting life is nothing like hitting that heavy bet. So as I lie on my back, trying to wonder what happened, I hear the count.
1, 2, 3.
What's the point of living life if it keeps doing me so foul?
4, 5, 6.
Maybe at this point, I should just throw in the towel.
7, 8, 9.
But before I have the thought of retreat, I'm already back on my feet. Before I even know where to go, my body's carrying me to the next show. Before I can begin to object, I'm already working on my next project. Whenever I get knocked down from this climb, my instinct is to get up and tell them I'll get them next time. I'll get them next time. These emotions in me that spur me to fight are all mad, angry, betrayed by my own body and mind, resentful that I missed my goal, disrespected by the opposition, ridiculed by my insecurities, indignant by my failures, violated by my lack of success, furious because I know I can be better, jealous at anyone who is slightly ahead of me, provoked by that jealousy to lash out, hostile to anyone who is deemed a hindrance, annoyed at the fact that I am not deemed good enough. And at this point, I start to believe that I am existing out of spite. I step back, relax, breathe. Everything's gonna be all right. And the universe takes me by the hands and looks me in the eyes, says, hey, you good? All right, get ready for your next fight. Target, set, bang.
Thank you so very much. I'm on Krypton. Be on the lookout for stuff. You can find me on all social media platforms. Don Krypton, spelled DonKrypton. Also follow me, follow Up Blue Culture, and get ready for the rest of the show. Thank you so very much, brother.
Thank you, Don Krypton. All right, for our next performer here, we have Belmar's very own Arthur Veilleux.
Good evening, everybody. Don, thank you very much for opening up with such a great poem. And, I'm a little slow on the uptake with a lot of spoken poetry. And that's one of the things I notice about poetry is that I sometimes need to read it and then hear it, and then hear it without reading it, and then read it silently and look at how the poem is structured. And so I'm going to suggest that for the poems that I'm about to read, that you avert your eyes from me and you just either close your eyes or look on the floor or do something that focuses on the sound, because that's what I was getting from Don, the sound of poetry. And that's what really struck me. So, I have two poems. One is an original poem, and one is a classic. So I'll start with the original poem. No looking. So societal, this is the introduction. Societal and individual success is sometimes described as climbing a ladder. You go from rung to rung, rising higher and higher. However, it's not hard to see that the ladder has suffered damage. The supporting uprights are weak from ecological damage. Economic damage has caused the rungs to be further and further apart. And political and societal wrongs cause the ladder to be increasingly unsteady. Many call out for the ladder to be fixed so that we can all go on climbing. But what if instead of a ladder we were climbing something organic, like a stem or a stalk? The same injury has been done, but there's no fixing the stalk. When it becomes too weak, it will collapse to the ground, become compost, and from that, a new stalk will rise, fresh, strong, and healthy. My poem is Composting Modernity. We stand on the edge as a fiction is told, with coin and screen and steel and oil, the myth of more and boundless gain, one great resource for us to drain, taking all no end in sight, turn soil to dust and plant to blight. Let it decay, let structures fall, for from the dust new roots will call. Beneath it all the microbes wait, in compost soft and humus great. Break down the walls, the roads, the pride, let wisdom grow, let nature guide. Breathe with the trees, move with the tides, restore a home where life abides. Give thanks for soil, for rain, for stone, for skies with air and sun alone. Untell the tale that modernity told. Restore the world and humanity's soul. Old ways will fall in fertile ground, transformed by wisdom to be found. The future grows from what we waste, from corporate hands to earth's embrace. For from decay the world will rise, in the compost pile regeneration lies. And now, because of the recent start of the baseball season, I'd like to recite a favorite poem of mine, Casey at the Bat, by Ernest Lawrence Thayer. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville Nine that day. The score stood 4-2, with but one inning more to play. And then when Clooney died on first and Barrows did the same, a sickly silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to the hope which grows eternal in the human breast. They thought, if only Casey could get a whack at that, they'd put up even money now with Casey at the bat. But Flynn preceded Casey, and so did Jimmy Blake, and the former was a Lulu and the latter was a cake. And so the stricken multitude, grim melancholy sat, for it seemed but little chance of Casey getting to the bat. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had settled, and the men saw what had occurred, there was Jimmy safe on second, and Flynn a hugging third. Then from 5,000 throats and more there rose a lusty yell. It rattled through the valley, it rumbled through the dell, it knocked upon the mountains and recoiled upon the flat, for Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing and a smile on Casey's face. And when responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat. No stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat. 5,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded as he wiped them on his shirt. And while the withering pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance gleamed in Casey's eyes. A sneer curled Casey's lip. And now the leather-covered spear comes hurtling through the air, and Casey stood watching it and hotly gandered there. Close by the sturdy batsman, the ball unheeded sped. "That ain't my style," said Casey. "Strike one," the umpire said. From the benches black with people, there roars a muffled roar, like the beating of the storm waves on a stern and distant shore. "Kill him! Kill the umpire!" shouted someone from the stand. And they'd have likely done it had not Casey raised his hand. With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult. He bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the spheroid flew. But Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said, "Strike two!" "Fraud!" cried the maddened thousands, and the echo answered fraud. But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain. They knew that Casey would not let that ball go by again. The sneer is gone from Casey's lips. His teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds with cruel violence his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go. And now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out.
Thank you, Art. I love that poem. That is so much fun. Okay, so for our next poem, we have Tabitha Dial, hailing all the way from Hamilton. Come on, Tabitha.
right?
No.
Anybody ever learn a musical instrument? Okay, great. You might know what this is like then, and hopefully it will speak to you, and yes, I will project. This is my one and only slam poem, and I've written a lot of poems, but this is the only one that stood the test of time, being spoken word. This is 12 things you need to know about pianos. The first thing you need to know about pianos is not a thing, but a woman. Not Mozart, not Beethoven, not Chopin, or Jerry Lee Lewis, or Little Richard, but my mother. She may not always hit the right notes or the words like that. She might not always hit the right words, but she never loses her place on a piano. There are an ensemble of piano teachers the world over, and my mom arrives everywhere on the backs of chords, and arpeggios. And if any family member has any type of performance, she sits in the crowd or at the piano bench beside us, keeping time either way. She cheers us on in triplet, I love you, you're the best, that's my kid. The third thing you need to know is that my mother's piano teacher, when she was 9 years old, made her play with pennies balanced on the backs of her hands. Yet still, she bartered with her little sister for her to do the dishes after dinner while she practiced. It was Mom's night music that made her days, and still the rattling of silverware inspires her fingers to waltz rags and concertos. Now, my mother tells her students to imagine they've got tangerines under their palms and to let the notes ring like birds winging across the Grand Canyon. And the next thing you need to know about pianos is they can make any man, woman, or child risk sounding foolish or genius. Every one of them, upright, baby, grand. Every one of them begs to be played. Once you've skipped along those black and white keys, you'll want to play again too. God knows this is why they lock the piano at the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church. One person's prayers can never rise to the heavens faster than another's. The 7th, 8th, and 9th things you need to know about pianos are da 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 da, and chopsticks and heart and soul are more than played weary, but damn, if performed just right, with your older brother and the sunshine falling on your backs, in those moments the notes are new again. You're rising to the pinnacle of your piano pair career, fingers tap dancing your debut duet with the grace of a minuet, and maybe you see yourselves on MTV or the living room's full, standing room only. Audience pouring out into the front lawn, even though there's a blizzard outside, because what good is music if it isn't shared? One of the last things I learned from pianos is that the boy who borrowed my first kiss had his lesson after mine, and 4 years later, he leaned toward me in the autumn football stadium, and I remember thinking, that's a kiss? That's what all the fuss is about? And for 10 years, my inner Beethoven and I had more faith in music than we thought we would ever have for love. What good is any of it if you never share? The 12th thing you need to know about pianos is that a good piano tuner won't spend too long on a note unless it asks. A good piano mover knows exactly where a piano belongs without being told. And a good piano teacher will give you every measure of your life if you're just patient with the notes on the page. Fur Elise brings back memories of that small room at the State College where my piano teacher asked me, "What sort of woman do you think he wrote this for?" And I sat down at the piano bench, scared to think that Beethoven had hormones, that he wrote this song I was learning to play. Me being 13 and not ready to leave my childhood to be seduced by anyone. "I think this song is about someone like you," she said. She attached me to grace and womanhood, and ever since that last lesson where I blushed as a child, I have felt art cascading through me, my music, my being carried away by memory and emotion. And if you don't know what that's like, then there's a piano teacher out there who can find the songs written for someone like you. Do you want this scooted back down or just?
Yeah, just stay put it down. Thank you. All right, everyone. So the next one, who's next on our list right there? Okay. Next is all the way from right here from Spring Lake, Maria O'Donnell. Come on up. Oh, okay, here we go. We'll jump to some other stuff. All right, next person in line. All right, Linda, you're up. Linda Chatalian Wyatt from here in Belmar.
Hi everyone. My poems are based on my Armenian heritage. The first one is after I went to Hope Cemetery in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's called Heavenly Peace. Heavenly Peace. I wandered through Hope Cemetery yesterday, intrigued that a sole Italian lay buried amongst a cluster of Armenians. Were they neighbors in life? Did they get along? Perhaps the walls of the Armenians resonated. Perhaps the windows of the Italians reverberated. Now, in their afterlife, was there increased harmony? What if the Armenians sang their lyrics to the Italian tune? What if the Italians sang their lyrics to the Armenian melody? Two songs, translated. Contents blended, intentions connected. Armenian, I am waiting for you, sweet spring, for you to come with my flower love. Italian, oh, my dear beloved, believe but this, without you, my heart languishes. 2 songs, 1 Armenian, 1 Italian. Blend words with tune. 2 songs as 1. 4 Armenians and Italians. So, is this how peace is made in heaven? The next one was written from my grandfather, and I just had a premonition I needed to write this. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning one night, and then I said, I have to cancel everything and go tell it to him in the nursing home, and I did, and he passed away the next day. And it was my best performance ever. It was a solo performance to one person. The candle of my soul. Look at my face, chiseled with the wisdom of my years. Learn and remember what I have taught you, what I have to give. Do not my eyes beseech you to seek the beautiful without turning your back on the pain? My nose and mouth prescribing you savor the sweet bouquet of life to season the foul. My tongue imploring you to speak the truth, no matter the cost. My chin summoning you to be proud, but not vain, to be true to yourself and the legacy of your Armenian heritage I so fought to preserve. My ears admonishing you to listen to the voice of nature, to disseminate the lessons of her animals, plants, rocks, earth, wind, and fire. My smile emanates the joy of endless glee, reflected by children, men and women, young and old. My wrinkles are a testimony to the struggles I outwitted and outlived. But how I wish I could engulf you with my arms, shielding you from pain, struggle, mistakes. Yet wouldn't I be robbing you of life's adventure? Men have forged miracles on their mistakes. So never give up. The bad times only make the good times better. Look at my face, chiseled with the wisdom of my years, but tempered by the love of life. Look into my very soul. Do you not see peace? Do you not see faith? And since my soul is the same energy of your soul, are we not one? Learn and remember what I have taught you, for these are my gifts to you. Use them well. Let them grow for you, for through me you grow. Through you I'll grow, and through us mankind grows. Each passing the candle of our soul to another, and then, and they, entrusting it to others unto eternity. What more could we bequeath this world? I have two short poems. One is written by my grandmother. It's called Nana's Tea. Chorek is mentioned in it. It's an Armenian sweet roll. Talabaniyev is string cheese and hot Swiss bread. Nana's tea. I saw a heart seed in the chorek. composing poetry about you, reminiscing, Talbanier and huts. Desiring to prolong your visit, I made a favorite tea in your china cup. Roses of beauty adorning it. The Earl Grey swirled a golden heart. Maybe a pouring of your love. The last one is, and this last one is a sort of a progression. A Kachkar is a stone cross marker in Armenia. Sev means black in Armenian. Avarujan and Siamanta were Armenian poets. Risen in me, in the silence of the rune, air still as Kachkars, Sev soil, winter dead leaves. Alive, the souls of the corpses, the hearts of my blood, the mouths of my tongue, breathe my spirit, alive, Varujan, Siamanto, villagers, alive, risen in me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Linda. Thank you very much. All right, let's go back on schedule. Maria O'Donnell from Spring Lake. You're up.
Y'all gonna have to switch gears now. Okay. So I've been writing since I'm, I don't know, like 5. And they're all like in here, so once every like few years, one of my family rolls me out one of these things. Okay. Your jealousy cannot affect me because your opinions do not vex me. Your misery cannot hex me. Your text cannot perplex me. I am the gay man who dodges your stares, black woman who feels your glares, the disabled at the base of the stairs, the beauty not symmetrically square with the strength to show I don't care. I stand up straight, combating your hate. Sorry, but you've come too late to affect the pace of my gait. I've traveled too far to be late, early to celebrate all that I've done to create this world that has blossomed from faith and a faith that's all too great to wait for anything a lesser state. So best you be on your way, leave your ignorant judgment at bay, take your package of hate and go play in your own piece of earth where you pray. You will always be late for today. Maybe I wasn't great. I succumbed to the hate, stopped at the gate, buckled from the weight, but I learned from my mistakes, learned how to guard my heart when my brain tore it all apart. I learned it's easy to restart when you look inside your mind, leave the past behind, look and you will find the kind of joy you truly need. You don't have to bleed or get on your knees to find a reprieve. It's all in how you breathe through the pain so it never comes again, an umbrella in the rain, the thickness of the veins. I erase the past behind so I can never find that sorrow in my mind again. You can't take away my friends because a real friend can't be stolen. You can't take away my confidence because my fear has already been broken. If I really wanted to, I would embrace your world, but it means something different to me when my freak flag's unfurled. It means I have a choice to go in my direction, apart from affection, aside from the section all that I haven't yet mentioned. To find the intention that's not perfection, but instead a life worth protection. In the end, it's a life that will weather the strife, commit to the wife, and if you're lucky, beat the knife. Demoralize, desensitize, de-romanticize, and not decrease my size. Instead, it opens my eyes to what I already surmise. Ups my eyes, closes my thighs, and steals a surprise. You can't take away my vocation because I don't have appreciation for those who steal the applause of another's ovation. Instead, I'll enjoy my libations on the shores of my vacation, lest my ego inflation at my true destination of impeccable gestation and ingestible animation, lest the hollow fabrication and lonely excavation of another's relations. You are not my enemy, but you are not my friend. The empty in between that deserves an end. You are not the shadows. You are not the light. You are not the passion, just the steam from the fight. You are not the beginning. You are not the end. You are just in the middle, in between friends. And this palpable friction you cannot mend. You cannot bend, because you are no friend of mine.
Damn, Maria, that was awesome. All right, well, how about that, huh? I'm I'm awake now. Okay, so, next up on the list is Mike Nugent, right here from Shrewsbury.
Hello, everybody. That was fun to follow. This first poem was written right after the murders of Martin Luther King, April 4th, 1968, and RFK on June 6th, 1968. It's called A Dream. I dreamed a place where there was one color on every face, and that color was good. I found a time where there was love and all and no crime, and that love was good. I caught a feeling where there was peace, a time for healing, and that healing was good. I kissed a world where there was hope and joy unfurled, and that freedom was good. Awake, I took in a world where there were children playing with guns of wood, and then I understood. This next one comes from the streets of New York where I worked. It's called Shriek. How many shrieking ladies by the side of the sidewalk, out of the rush of the briefcase brigade, did I pass? How many outstretched hands, rummy eyes, demented mutterings of the sick and lonely and helpless I blew by? On my way to the wrong obligations, or ones that didn't help, but mostly on my way out of the way, ignoring them, forsaking promises of long ago, passionate promises that I'd be different. Will I be judged on this? Or will I be able to run away from judgment, like I did from that shrieking lady who screamed, "Help me! Help me!" every day to the blank faces of me and the oncoming crowd? I still hear that voice. The next poem is called Gone. The next poem is called Gone. All the ghosts are gone. Spirits no longer move in the fog and mists of a small, remote town, nestled in the meadows against the hills. The devil didn't live in that little exorcist girl. The devil didn't make you do it. We know too much now. It's all scientific. Soon we'll know it all, and anything we don't will be analyzed, understood, computerized, parsed, crystallized, artificially intelligized, conceptualized, articulated, and stored. All the fun will be gone, all the mystery. And that's when we'll move. We'll move into our minds, our own stories, what we believe, and we will be gone. This next one, I wrote way back when my children were young, on one windy night. It's called Ill Wind. I gasp through dry leaves, harsh, lifeless, bitter, old. Sounds like age and the scratching last breaths of death. Not the soft stirrings of spring or the lush waves of wind through the trees of summer. I don't sit here and hear the lullaby of a wonderful breezy night, but I worry and I wonder. I get anxious. What is this wind blowing in? Where's it been? A dead wind blowing through my room, over my body and out, smelling stale, feeling brittle on my chest. The crickets sound like a digital alarm set too early, irritating. Geese complain outside my window as if the wind had cut them. The dead, dry wind sounds restless, full of false bluster. It blows, it billows, but there's no hope there. There's no kites in that sky. I sit and look outside into the darkness. I see the boughs of the trees moving spasmodically, mocking me. They wave frantically, as if trying to ward me off. One branch, menacingly, bends and comes at the window, as if trying to get in to attack. I get up and rub the clammy foreheads of my children, smooth their ruffled hair, and worry about their tears, pitfalls, the traps, the illnesses, and the heartbreak that will come their way when I'm gone and the wind blows like this. I worry about the dead, dry winds that will come, promising a lift or relief or a cool embrace, but holding only false hope of spring, father, and feverish pace. I stroke their hair and kiss their foreheads and tell them, listen, listen for me in the wind. Hear my voice, no matter where you are, no matter the wind. Pull up the sheets and close your eyes and hear me sing my crazy songs. Tonight, that night, I heard and felt and smelled the ill wind that blows no good. Did you ever see a full moon? This is an honest question. Did you ever see a full moon rise over a dark ocean? Did you ever see how the moon lights a path over the ocean straight to wherever you are on the beach? This poem was written one night on Belmar Beach with such a moon and such a night. It's called Walk, Go. On those full moon nights, especially when she hangs low near the horizon, big, blue, eyeball, ready for the plucking, there is a bright, moonlit path across the water to her, no matter where you begin. On those full moon nights when the path is always clear and bright, and the way forward is there, so obvious to see, go. You are not a lunatic, because it is there right before you. The path. Walk on water. Take the odds. F them all. Walk. The path is lit, and it is straight, and it is there. From here to there, no matter where you start. Walk. Go. And this last one is probably the toughest. This one's about my mom, who was in a nursing home in Jersey, and she and I were sitting in her bedroom one Sunday afternoon. She was gone, but not yet passed. Sunday with Mom. I sometimes do hear them, the birds, she says. I listen, and one, maybe two, sing solitary songs in the spring. You sit there, head back, blinking at the ceiling, questions, doubt, torment, where once had been peace and a choir of angels and saints. You sleep, your face a skeleton, only the slight movement of your tiny frame, any sign of taking in the air of life and quiet amidst the birdsong. We sit in peace, you lost inside that head, me taking stock, it's peaceful. You cannot hear or see or remember or fathom what it means or why when the birds sing. I too cannot remember too much from way back as a child, except back then when I cried, when I made it day to day, not knowing why the fun, the meaning always seemed to come from what was in me. You made me laugh, you were a bright light in the dark, you cared and rubbed my back, singing your solitary song, my Mikey, how I do love my Mikey, making it all go away, making it all right. You gave me back then a little song that I could hear in the choir, a little cheer in the silent day, the solitary day, before the night, as we both got to till now. But now we sit quietly and listen to that song that only I could hear. I love you, Mom. Go well, let go of the demons inside you, the ones you chased away. Go well, so well, let go. Let her go, God. Let her go. Let her fly away on the wings of her song to you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. Okay, next up is, this is right here from Walmart, Jarmon.
Hello. I started writing poetry when I was a high school English teacher at Christian Brothers Academy. I think J.R.R. Tolkien famously said how boring it was to grade papers. It's also boring to watch students write. So I thought, you know what, might as well join them. So that was the beginning of my journey in writing poetry. This poem that I want to recite is about an illness that many writers face. unfortunately, sadly, and that's called writer's block. So this is called writing a poem. Some days a poem just writes itself. You're lucky if it do. But at times he's such a stubborn guy, and he hands the work to you. You struggle with the metaphor, you wrestle with the rhyme, because that poem don't want to work today. He hasn't got the time. He's gone to pen a sonnet for some sappy fella's love, or he's off to craft an epic to the ancient gods above, or he's off to Okinawa just to spite me, yes it's true, where he'll jot a couple dozen little Japanese haiku. Or he's gone to spin a limerick somewhere on the Emerald Isle. While I wallow in my misery, he is laughing all the while. But I'll not give up, for that's a theme that poets do like best. I'll reach out to Rudyard Kipling, Dylan Thomas, and the rest. On those days when ethereal muses leave me for some distant shore, I will visit with those poets, and their words I will explore. I have one more short one, and hopefully my daughters, if I struggle, they can help Dad. So I am a member of the Surf Poets Society, which is an organization based out of Honolulu, Hawaii, of artists and surfers. And through the magic of social media, they reached out to me, and I'm kind of their adopted brother from the mainland. So I want to dedicate this poem called Tiki Torch Island to my friends in Hawaii. An island southwest of Hawaii is a terrible place for a shark. For the natives of Tiki Torch Island come tub thumping out after dark. They gather on black sanded beaches. They shake bamboo spears at the sky. And they pound makeshift drums as they praise waves that come as they give a carnivorous cry. They mimic the thunderous roar of the terrible heart-pounding surf, and the ocean rewards, so they gather at boards as they head for the wild south surf. In the evening, sharks are aplenty, but by morning they're scarcely a beast, for they end up on spits over fiery pits at the Tiki Torch Island Shark Feast.
Now you're gonna be hungry. Sounds good, shark steak, all right. Okay, so we're moving right along. The next one right over here is all the way from Newark. We have Jeri Johnson.
You guys hear? Hello? Hello? Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeri. I'm a young kid from North, 25. My birthday's May 3rd. I turn 26. I am currently in college for film and photography. I want to go search the world and learn about history, basically. Originally, I thought this was going to be a smaller event, so the poems I did was more personal, but that's okay. When I write poetry, I normally write when I'm feeling a particularly strong emotion. Bad, good, whatever. So fair warning and little advisory if you guys feel a little way about my poems. This first one I write whenever I'm feeling, and I continue to write on. I've been writing on it since I was like 13. I shoot my shot. I'm aiming for the box. Rejection hit me so hard, it knocked off my socks. This is becoming repetitive. I think I need a sedative. I know my pain. There isn't any game. This is all a game. Trying to ignore the shame. Everybody now knows your name. Tears falling like rain. Getting exposed for a simple, hey there. They don't want to play fair. You're saying these things together by a piece of thin hair. Look in the mirror. Tell yourself you should have been aware. Same shit at different day. The pain will never go away. Time to put on that Joker mask. Add this to the closet filled of your dark past. Put on the persona, drink a Corona. Pretend to be someone you're not. Drink until your body gets super hot. Say you're okay when you're really not. Bundle your emotions, tie you with a knot. Become oblivious, stop acting delirious. Keep that mask on. When you see those demons, you try to run. But they want to have fun, so you play all night until you see the sun. Then you wake up and you realize what you have done. Hands are bloody, a murderer with a gun. You look in the mirror and you stand there stunned. Your mask slipped and that monster within was swift. Now you start laughing. What a beautiful, horrendous sight. That piece of hair snaps. You're saying you took flight. You're not you. You're quite the fool. Nobody to hold you. Nobody to console you. You punch the mirror, wake up in a cold sweat, heart beating like you raced a jet. It's not time for you to get up yet. You lay on your side, upset. You want your life to reset. You say, okay, bet. Say, I'm all ready, all set. Your whole room is a mess. All social media beating your chest. You close your eyes, trying to get some rest, and you see that monster within wink at you and say, the show has yet to begin. He fades away with his fingers to his lips. Tears fall slowly as you drift up into the abyss. Sleep with no dreams is your hope and wish. Pain gives you that gift. In your brain, something shifts. Your demons present depression as a dish. Your life is now a dream, flowing like a very dark stream. Blood on the pavement is now a crime scene. Who am I? What am I? Where am I? Am I the son of a Jamaican Native American mother and Dominican father? Or am I just American? And am I the product of my environment? Or am I just another kid from a dangerous street? And I'm the kind of person who does kind of things because he cares? Or am I doing these kind of things because of guilt? Am I a nice guy because I feel as if I can manipulate those around me for the betterment of their lives? Or am I doing this because I'm bored and this entertains me? Am I an asshole? Am I a leader? Am I a demon? Or am I a saving grace? Am I the good that people see? Or am I the monster that hides within? Am I present in this reality? Or is this really a long dream? Am I as real as I perceive the food I eat? Or am I just a sim character for someone else? Who am I? What is my purpose? Those are the questions I struggle with, questions I have trouble with. I try to dig through old rubble, I sludge along, but then I fumble it. But then it can't stop me, this wall of doubt. And with the way this world is going, I don't have time for this doubt. I'm not strong enough or ready for this upcoming battle, but I'll stand up straight and I'll shout, you will not take me down. And I'm going to make some sound, and I'm going to work through things slowly at my own pace. This is no race. I'll turn this around. This is my town. That's the start. I will not fall apart. In this next poem, I was 16. I was like very angry this day. I don't know why. I was looking through poems and submissions. I was looking through poems and submitted, and I saw this. I was like, this might work. You can't see the spite in me, yet you guys are always enticing me. You think it's exciting to see the beast that's inside of me come out and be a devastating force. My voice is so hoarse from all the yelling, I'm on a crash course, trying to speak out about my pain, but all I get is a cold shoulder and some shame. It's pushed me to the edge, I'm about to lose control, an untamable force, forcing me to do a crime I don't want to commit, trying to sell a dime to make a living, can't believe this shit. I'm shivering, my back exposed, I can feel the whip of society I live in. I'm on my knees asking for help, I'm all by myself, surrounded in the crowd. The pressure to follow is making me hollow. The curtains are closing, it's time for me to bow now. I can't finish this fight, see me in the afterlife. I can't deal with this strife, time to get the Glock. Oh my, look at the clock. Time to go, no more hellos to the good fellows. Digging till I'm 6 feet below. Yo. Time moves slow as I let myself down one last time. That shine is no longer mine. I'm dying as I close my eyes. I shed a tear. All I feel is devastating fear of the unknown. The darkness is closing in. I can see where I have been. Life flashes before me, but I still can't see what my purpose was supposed to be. I still have the key. Gotta be the success everyone see in me. They have a vision, I have a decision, a choice to make, a path to choose. No time to scream, boo-hoo, when all you have is you. Don't give your enemies a clue. If they question you, make them understand. The move you do, or step back and be made by a fool.
Thank you, Jerry. Aren't these a great crew of poets here? You got a great Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, Belmar Library is so happy to have them here, and we are proud to bring up our final poet today. He is a gentleman who has been out there on the forefront of promoting poetry throughout New Jersey and beyond, and we are so happy to have Mr. James C. Ellerbe.
First of all, thank you to all my fellow poets. Bring it closer to me. Y'all can hear me?
Bring it up higher.
Bring it up higher?
Higher.
Yeah, I can project. Can't be a spoken word artist and you can't project. I'm so happy to be here. This is my first time doing poetry in Belmar, so I'm really thankful to be here. Thankful to all my fellow poets and my fellow feature that performed. It's just so beautiful just staring out in the ocean. This is a phenomenal venue, and I just want to send you on a journey. I love words. Words saved my life, literally. So I'm just gonna give you some words. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Any jazz lovers?
Yeah.
All right, all right. Oh, y'all gonna really like this poem. I feel that one of the greatest jazz musicians to ever live was named Miles Davis. And I find that there's a lack of appreciation for jazz music nowadays. And I also find that there's a lack of appreciation for people loving you for who you are. So I decided to write a poem about all three. Y'all want to take this journey with me?
Yes.
It's called Miles Away. You're always miles away. My love for you was miles ahead. Trying to squeeze parts lips together made out of your love. I loved you like Miles loved his trumpet. Waited for you to see the king in me while your heart sang, someday my prince will come, but not soon enough. My melancholy muse, life is bleak. You gotta play the scales, yeah. Gotta play the scales. Played me like more better blues. You never knew what you wanted. An organized confusion to my pheromone, like the organized confusion of bees brew. Life is a bee in an itch. Someone's got to scratch. Your love was always my lack. You always seemed miles away. Well, my love for you was miles ahead, trying to leave the atmosphere to reach your stratosphere. 32 miles of miles, compiled out of broken dreams, broken promises, brokenness. A clutter of clutter, a boat with no rudder, a smile in reverse. You were the worst note I ever played me like emotions, paved my roads with asphalts and years of pain. I was your Miles. You left me like Coltrane. To innovate your new you, your new view, you had me feeling kind of blue. You always seemed miles away, never was adjacent. Step to the left like a G clef. Or better yet, left me hanging, bass clef. You're sketchy like sketches of Spain. So I wrote your bad notes in my notebook, poured bird on every word, blew you away like dizzy till I was no longer dizzy. I parked this ride like Charlie Parker on the other end of a saxophone, to no longer hear your moans like a trombone at rest. You always seem miles away, but instead of chasing you east, I decided to turn west. You're always miles away, always miles away. You got it on that one. So since we're on relationships, any couples here? Couples, don't be shy. Couples, couples, all right. You're the third one. So I've been kind of taking a lay of the land of what it's like today in society to be in a relationship. And I find that relationships are kind of like cell phones. I see the faces. What in the world does cell phones have to do with relationships? Well, I wrote a poem about it called Cell Phones and Relationships. So hopefully you like it.
Malfunction.
Huh? Malfunction.
You want to protect
A lot of malfunctions.
Get your insurance.
You're on the right track. You're getting there. You're getting there. All right. We treat our relationships like our cell phones nowadays. We gotta have the next hotness, the latest toy to stick with the times. See, I remember when Nokia came on the scene for the first time. I remember when he called on her for the first time. No more searching for dimes, quarters, or nickels to make a connection. Nokia was perfection. Nokia was portable. And if you need more time with it, she carried an extra back. But she lacked extra features. Then Motorola came and she was nice. And she took a little bit more of his payola just to give him the time of day. She had a slim frame and was very colorful. She even had new features like theme music to announce her presence. She was elegant, but she couldn't quite get the job done. Then BlackBerry came along and he was in all of her business savvy. He loved to press her buttons. He received her messages very well, but not a lot of bells and whistles. She wasn't sociable enough, wasn't user-friendly. He would rather waste his time on another fruit named Apple. Boy, did he love to touch her screen. She even came with her own music collections. Her software connections were very fast, but she didn't last long. She got a little smaller and lasted a little longer, but he resolved to want another cell phone with a little more meat on her bones. So he switched to Samsung because she had more real estate with more widgets to press. She was customizable. Music was easy to lay on her. And if he didn't know much about her, all he had to do was Google her. He would go back to Apple when he needed his life made easier. So she hired Siri as his assistant to get his answers in an instant. She became about business. And she didn't even need a computer geek to tweet her praises. He wasn't sure how, but she had two assistants, S-Voice and Google Now. He would go back and forth between Apple and Samsung for years. What seemed like a new cell phone every 2 days was more like every 2 years. When one would up her game, the other one would do the same. Once the norm, but later become the mundane. The moral of the story is you should have one cell phone that should have all the qualities that you need. Or you might find that what you really want today is really out of your league. If she's right for you, keep her around a while. Or find yourself with no cell phone. And as it pertains to relationships, alone. I also find that society has a very negative definition of what it means to be a woman. And I've been thinking about this, and I came up with my own definition. And it's called define you. You fill the spaces in my life like spackling. Sweeten the soul like saccharin. Taught silence how to speak. Made beats out of my heartbeat. Your voice hits waves beyond an immeasurable octave and make my straight lines concave, cause rocks to dissolve and problems to be solved. Turn my blues green. Make my life more than what it seems, a dream preserved, not a dream deferred. You are truly what I deserve. You're that state where matter turns to energy, where mathematics becomes symmetry, the after effect, the result of a catalyst, where sex becomes orgasmic, beats become rhythm, words become reason. You are the image after the translation to the brain, meaning without words, the flow after the drop, the flux, the diamond after the rough. You can't be cloned. You own this world. You are the woman after the girl. Make a bum dress to the nines. You can't be confined or defined. You were made to adore. You are in the distance like the moon for one day to be explored. Define you. So, this is my final piece, and as you can see, I love comic books. I'm Team Marvel all the way. No disrespected, DC, but I think Marvel has the movies on lock. What I find with comic books, comic book movies, they're all about superheroes. But the funny thing is, there's a superhero in every one of you. So I wrote this poem called We Are Superheroes. We are superheroes. We are superheroes. So let no one steal your cape. Let there be no mistake, you have superpowers. You can soar above pain like the falcon. You can punch holes in fears like Luke Cage. And no matter what people may say, the bulk of your power is inside you. It wasn't manufactured in a lab. You're not a mutation. You're a physical manifestation of something glorious, something majestic. You too can control storms like storm. You were born beautiful, powerful, gifted, uplift your soul. Your neighborhoods are your Wakanda, and you are Black Panther. So save your fellow Avengers. Your name is Isaiah Bradley, the first Captain America. Like you were the first to create civilization, one of God's greatest creations on this earth. So take back your birthright. Esau. Climb, claw, fly your way out of the abyss. Assist anyone in despair. Dare to be incredible. Dare to be fearless, lest you be defeated by your own weakness. Secure your secret identity. The world doesn't need to see. Sometimes, great things are done in secrecy. But most importantly, never give up. Tired of injustice, then decide enough is enough. Turn words into actions, dreams into goals. Hold yourself accountable, for the world needs you. Evil never sleeps. It wreaks havoc, disenfranchised lives, and will always live in a lie. Be the proof in truth. Be bulletproof. Be someone's lifesaver. Let no one steal your cape. Make every day an adventure. Venture to uncharted places. Pace yourself. Don't be exhausted all in one time. Even Jesus had to recharge. Be larger than life, like being the source of change. Put on your game face. For the race is not for the swift, but for the one that endures to the end. You too will bend spoons with your mind. Combined with like-minded forces, you got a course to your destiny. Believe you can. Believe you must. Trust in your maker. For who's going to tell her that her life is worth more than a reality TV show contract? Who's going to tell him a gang is no place to find a father figure? Your purpose is bigger than you. Your superpowers are not meant for you. They're meant for your family, your neighborhood, your community. For everyone wants to be super. Everyone wants to be special. Be the change. Be the difference. Be superheroes. For God's sakes, just be. Thank you for your time.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, James. Great performance. Now, James will be back for our Juneteenth concert celebration as we celebrate the meaning of Juneteenth, and he will be joining us with more of his wonderful poetry on that event. So please be here for that as well. Thank you, James. So we've come to the end of the performance part of our show, so we have a few minutes left. I want to open up to a little bit of a discussion among the poets, among everyone, about the business of poetry and what it's like. What does it have to do? What's going on? What do poets have to go through and all that? So yeah, come on up, Jay. Don, come on up. So, James, what do you think of our crew, bud?
This was awesome. Love all of y'all, love y'all energy. I just thank y'all for listening. I was a young kid who didn't have much friends, didn't have people to listen to, and poetry gave me a voice. So this is, it's just constantly rewarding. And why I keep doing it, why I keep sharing, and why I'm here today. So I just thank you for listening, and thank you for just appreciating anything I have to say. Happy National Poetry Month.
Anybody have a question for any of our poets? Yes.
So when you're trying to write poetry and your mind is always going, do you have your cell phone out, or do you journal, do you jot things down, or do you have one of those memories that can just keep it all there until you put it together?
That's a very good question. I've learned that it's good to have multiple mediums. I've lost so many poems.
I mean, I can't even quantify it. So I normally start on paper. In fact, on my website, there's literally my original composition book, and it has one of my poems that's in my book of poetry that you can purchase today. But that's where it all starts, composition book. Then I transfer it to, digital and cloud. And then I just, rehearse it over and over. The mind is a muscle, and the more you work it, the more, it will give back to you. So that's how I perform it, but that's also how I write it. So hopefully that answered all your questions.
Anybody else have any other tricks about that?
I have to do voice notes, then translate it. Most of my poems come, I'm driving 85 down the Parkway, so I have to do voice notes. I can't be typing it, but yeah, as you can see, I'm still reading from my phone. I have a couple of poems memorized, but for the most part, I just have to get it out, and once it's out, then I can figure out what to do with it. So that's my thought process on it.
I want to add to that. There's no difference between spoken word and written poetry. They all are the same, but they function differently. That's the only difference with them. So I know poets that recite, and they sound better than any spoken word artist ever did. So it's not about reciting it from your head. That's not what's important. What's important is, have you connected the thoughts and the feelings to your audience? That's the most important thing. So that can be done either on the page or spoken out loud. So I wanted to add that in conjunction with what you asked.
Jeri?
Yeah, I'm not sure about everyone else, but as a young guy, I'm always busy. And then, as I said, I'm in college, so I always have a lot of classwork and assignments I need to do. Normally, a poem will start in my mind. I might get like a couple phrases. I'll try to remember it, and then I'll come to a piece of paper. I'll try to jot it down as fast as I can. And then if I can somehow save that paper and somehow save that thought in my brain, then I'll transfer it onto electronics and I'll type it out.
Any other questions? Yep.
Can I comment on that last part?
So go ahead, Art.
So I think one of the things that distinguishes poetry from lyrics from music is that a poem, when it's written down, can have a different meaning than when you just hear it. Because if you've ever looked at a poem on a page, you can see that some poets write in very small little clips of words, and then they go down, or very long, unstructured sentences. And all that has a way of giving you different meanings to poetry. So I would say that look at how the poem is constructed on a page in addition to listening to the words of the poem. And if you're writing poetry, think about how you want that poem to look on a page.
Sharon, you have a question?
Yeah, no, Art just picked up on what I was going to say next. Was as a former teacher, I used to always tell my students that the poetry could have a different format than lyrics.
Yeah.
You know, they always thought it was one and the same, and I said, remember when we would write in a circle, your words? They were like, oh, I said, you can't do that with a song. I said, you can talk around it, but you can't, visualize it that way. The other thing I wanted to ask any of the poets we have here, are any of you writing or have any of you written any children's poetry? Yes.
I'm working on one. In fact, the last poem I did, We Are Superheroes, I'm turning that into a children's poetry book.
My poems tend to be kind of goofy, and so I've gone around to schools, Monmouth and Ocean County, and around New Jersey to kind of. I've got 21 years in high school, but I I try to get out of the high school when I can. I like to go visit with the younger kids, and so my big inspirations, I admire guys like Shel Silverstein, Lewis Carroll, Jim Henson, and these were artists who really tried to write for children of all ages. Being an English teacher, a lot of you can find my books on Amazon, but Monster Surf Tales and Back to Echo Beach. But a lot of my poems, there's little kind of hidden gems in there of and I mentioned it in the one poem that I read tonight. The poets that I was inspired by. So something that going back to kind of like the children's poems, I was always trying to write from that angle. Can I write something that I think is funny, that a kid could enjoy, but also the parents would enjoy reading it to them. And I think the master of that was really, going back to Lewis Carroll with Alice in Wonderland. I mean, he was very intentional to write silly stories, but they're very sophisticated because he knew, most likely the children wouldn't be the ones reading, it would be the parents that would, be reading the stories. And then kind of, that torch got passed to Roald Dahl, who's another one of my heroes, and, as I mentioned, Jim Henson. So it's something I try to do, I think sometimes successfully, maybe other times not, but yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Jeri?
Yeah, so funny enough, I sometimes volunteer for different organizations around Atlanta, so I'm always around kids. And I like poetry. Sometimes I'll sit around with a group of kids and like, come on guys, let's popcorn. And it came to a point where for a couple of months I was working in the North Board of Education as a senior cook. And there was always a group of kids that used to just be troublemakers, So I wrote a specific poem for them. I was like, if y'all can switch this around or add a beat to it, I'll give you guys whatever you want. And the things that came up created from it was beautiful. So that started really on my journey.
I just want to add one more thing to that. I work with a lot of kids in conducting poetry workshops, and to me, they have some of the most unlimited minds I've ever experienced in poetry. So I love working with kids, no offense to adults, but I love, to me, that's the most rewarding, because their minds just, they don't have the limitations that we have as adults. So to me, it's a natural progression for me to actually finish this, this children's poetry book. But I will work with children anytime.
I haven't written any children's poetry, but I love children's poetry, the simplicity of it. And it occurs to me that the original nursery rhymes that I heard as a child is what gave me my first sense of poetry. Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock, right? Those are the things that, when children hear them, is the primer for later poetry that they would realize is as interesting or more interesting. So anytime that you have a chance to tell nursery rhymes to children, that is starting them on a love for poetry.
Excuse me. Got a question?
I just honestly wanted to thank all of you because it's amazing to me how you can have all of these different voices and different real lived lives that are expressed this way, and yet they come together, and we are in a world where sometimes we don't feel like we can actually be as honest and authentic and vulnerable as ever. It takes a lot of balls to get up there and do what you have to do. And the fact that there's still this pulse, right, this pulsating power of truth and words in our world is so great. And I want to thank everyone who's here, all of us who listened you guys who put it together and you guys who share it, because we need these truths. We need to hear from each other in our different ways and literally be together. Thank you.
That was a poem right there.
Well, listen, I was from the Bronx before I was from Jersey, so.
Questions?
When you mentioned Hickory Dickory Dock, do you know like all of the stanzas? We got them. Patty and Lewis and I were all looking for them. After the mouse ran up the clock, it goes, "I'm hungry now," said Mousie, "and I need a bite to eat." So he tiptoed to the kitchen to look for something sweet. Do you know that part?
I don't know it by heart,
But you're aware of it, that it's like got about 5 or 6 stanzas.
Yeah.
It's a whole saga. Fascinating.
Twinkle, twinkle,
You
just
have
run
to
up that too. There's stanza after stanza of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
It was a complete book when I first read it.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Ma'am, creature, do you have a question?
No, I was just.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if my head's in the way.
All right, any other questions so far? Anyone else have a question?
I have a question about AI. It's terrifying. I mean, I was at a seminar and he said to somebody, name your favorite pet, a dog. Name your favorite sport, baseball. All right, we're going to write a poem about baseball with a pet by the shore. So he put that in, just like that, transmitted it, and the poem came up on the screen. And it was outstanding, absolutely outstanding, whimsical. And then he said, all right, let's do it with a Shakespearean tone. And then and then after that I said, oh, what's gonna happen in my future book? I have all these collections of poems I wrote. Who knows now? I mean, it's scary because even this Shakespearean version of that poem nailed it. It's just so mesmerizing. And
So I use AI a lot.
yes.
And I just want to say, it's historically oriented. It's not future oriented. It's not in the moment.
Well, the one
And
first poem was.
and that's where what makes us different from machines. And it's great, and I use it all day long. It's a fabulous tool, but it's not making poetry.
And it won't replace,
I
sorry,
have seen it, though.
it won't replace what's happening now. It won't replace relationships between editors, publishers, other poets, yourself. Who wants to see a robot do poetry? Don't worry about it, keep creating.
Not just that, it doesn't draw from the well of human experience. You can't replace that. You can't synthesize that. So that's why I'm not afraid of it. And poets will always be around because it's that personal relationship that an audience has to the poet that can never be replaced.
And also, this is a very sensitive topic to me because on one of my classes, I'm taking a screenwriting class for television and film, and we had this very same debate. AI is a quick, easy way to get budgets, and I'm not sure if you guys know, but a couple of years ago, the writers and the actors were on strike.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mostly because, part of the reason was because of AI. A lot of the directors would like to go to the AI instead of the actual scriptwriters. I'm going to say one thing. No matter how good, quote unquote, a script could be from AI, it will never replace a human creativity. A human can sit here, look at that scenery right there, and come up with like 20 different scripts. AI will have to come up with past scripts of different things and try to put it together. It's coming with a half of it. And AI won't be as good as humans allow it to be. And humans will never allow it to be too good enough where it overpowers us. Let's be honest. And for those that say AI is better, let's be honest, you're not. You're just lazy.
As good as the sentiment is that is.
I just want to
as
say,
good as the sentiment, I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry, that, you think about the different styles that we have here, how could AI produce that? And I used to always think that poems, when I was growing up, we had to rhyme it, and then it started to I started doing more the free stuff, but it's still some of the rhyme. And when it's rhyme, though, boy, I think you have to think, because you want so much precision, and sometimes you agonize on it, and you say, is that the right word? And you write it down, and interestingly, sometimes when you are reciting it, another word replaces it, and that must be the word that you really wanted.
Yeah, basically along the same lines. The biggest information I've said, it's a useful tool. It's a useful tool. I work in IT, so it's something that I have to go through all the time. How do I do this? How do I do this? It does take from the well of human knowledge, but as Jeri said, not human experience. So any feeling, it may sound like a good poem, but you know that there's no feeling behind it. And you can always tell when a poem or even a written document is AI generated. So I don't, again, not necessarily scared, but the tool will get more useful. Just be careful what you put into it. That's all I'm saying about that.
Yeah, I had a question for your group of poets. I tend to be someone who writes it all out at once. It just bursts out of me. And then I get it down into some recording. And then I find myself over years going back to it, tweaking it, adding a word, even with the poems I read today. I saw some flaws and I said, oh, you know what, this captures better. How many have a style like that? Is it rewriters?
I love that because one prime example is what I shared this evening. That had been around 8 or 10 years before it went through another revision. I submitted at all these places, got rejection after rejection, but thank you, New Jersey, and the When Women Speak anthology. Got me in the first one, and I'm in the second one that just came out too. So they loved it. I didn't find a poem for it for so long, but yeah. And then there was another one that was about 12 years, and I refreshed it, and it became part of this really cool experience where people had art. Somebody painted a painting based on that one. So yeah, hang on to your pieces. You don't know where they're gonna go.
Yeah, it definitely depends for me on what type of piece it is. I was told a couple of times that there are some pieces that are made to be on paper, there are some that are meant to be performed. So the paper ones, normally once they look good, you leave them alone, publish them, they're good, you leave them. But then the performance pieces, the ones that you talk in front of people, remove a syllable, remove a line, remove a picture here, add something here, those are the ones you can always tweak. So I think the live performance aspect of it is the part that is easily tweakable, but anything published, you kind of just want to stick to that because that's where it is, if that makes any sense. So that's where I'm at as far as that's concerned.
It keeps the poem alive, when you change even one syllable or the position of a word, that's a living poem. That's a living poem. and it'll continue to live and grow and change just like any other living thing. If you go back to it and think about it and repeat it and change it, it will live forever.
Little quick promo. In my book, I literally have poems as early as sophomore year in high school. So when I published it in 2015, I literally went back that far and tweaked those poems because I found myself, wanting to sharpen or reshape or expound on those ideas. So yeah, I don't throw away anything. I'll go back to them. I'll refurbish them. I'll add more thoughts to it because, like he said, the word is a living thing. And you're constantly evolving and changing. So what you thought 10 years ago, you don't think anymore because you're a different person from that 10 years. So yeah, I think it's very important that you should hold on to everything. Even lines I don't like, I'll hold on to them because I might find there's a piece of that line that will branch off into something else. So yeah.
Real quick, I'm a little bit unorthodox in to write during that time, that's it, that's fine. I feel like, because if I come back to that poem and tweet, even if I see that something I could change or maybe change the word, it'll change the meaning altogether. When I wrote that poem for a reason and a feeling, and that reason, it can't change. It captures that moment. So if I go back and tweak it even just a little bit, it changes the whole meaning. So once I put a poem out, that poem's done. I might go back and, oh, I made a mistake here, but I was writing it for a reason.
So the first poem that I read, I changed a couple of the words around because I'm a bit of an Anglophile, so when I wrote that poem, I had a British accent in my head, so I had to change some of the words that were distinctly British. I think it was my wife was like, it was Julia, my one daughter. She said, "Well, if you're going to do that poem, you have to do it in a British accent." I said, "There's no way I'm doing that." So I had to change. It was just like, it was maybe like 2 words, but just, just that kind of little tweak here and there, totally, for me, changed the way that the poem sounded in my head, and then when I went and read it.
He's absolutely right, because I remember a couple of years ago, Art and I was partnering together to put together the Poetry Jam series that we did at the library, where every 2 weeks we had a poetry jam, we would share and read poetry. And I remember doing one poem, Gunga Din, by Rudyard Kipling. And you can't say that poem without diving into a British accent. You remember how I did it, right? Art? So I dived into a British accent, and and believe it or not, even though if you're bad at it, you fall into it because the way he writes it, you can't help but say it that way. So yeah, that's true. I mean, and even that, you can't even take that accent out because that changes everything. It literally takes it out of time and place. So, okay, we're running near the end, so we have time for one more question. Here you go.
So you mentioned that you wrote poetry in your sophomore year in high school and whatnot. Did you get into poetry because of a great teacher, or you just had this sense of poetry in you, of writing stuff down because of life or music that you loved, or was it like formal structure that got you into it, or just like?
In the beginning, when I first started writing, to me it was like writing in a diary. Because I don't know if you remember before I performed, I said, poetry gave me a voice. Because I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. So I wrote my thoughts. Didn't realize that was poetry. Didn't realize until later in high school that this is poetry. Because when I was studying the various, Robert Frost, Vicky Giovanni, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, I didn't see myself in that vein because I thought it was all about their particular level. But it was later that I realized it's all about your level and your voice and what you have to say. And you just have to be responsible with that voice. So, and that's when, when I started to study the different forms and the different styles of poetry that I realized, oh yeah, how about, in fact, there's literally a poem in there, in my poetry book. I wrote it somewhere around maybe, I would say senior year in high school. Didn't realize that the style that I was writing the poem in was called cento, which is Italian for patchwork. I have a poem in my book that takes the title songs of one of my favorite artists of all time, which is Sade. And it takes the titles of her songs and turns them into a poem, and a poem about a love loss situation that I had. So I didn't even know I was writing in cento, but so yeah, there's a couple of poems in there like that I realized later that I was actually writing in a very particular style and wasn't even aware of it, But yeah, hopefully that answers everything.
For me, it was a teacher. And I can still remember reading Ogden Nash and being told, you know, how, look at that's the way it's written in the lowercase. So I had some fabulous English teachers, and so I attribute it to that.
I had always been a writer, but my focus was always on science, tech, STEM stuff. So it wasn't until I got to a point where I could not do anything, like nothing brought me joy other than getting whatever I was feeling written down on the paper. My entire book was written between 2020 and 2022, honestly. And I think the funniest thing that said, James wrote the forward for my book. And in the forward, he mentions that there are a bunch of different styles that I had no idea that I was doing either. So having that having that train of thought come down is interesting to hear. But yeah, I think it's poetry, unless it's something you want to do immediately. For me, it came kind of secondary. But once I felt it, once I was in a position where it was the primary thing in my life, it came just fluently. And I appreciate people who helped me get to that point.
Excited to wind this up, hopefully. I want to turn this beautiful question back to you and to everybody here. When did we see ourselves as poets? Were we 10 years old or younger? Were we 20 years old or younger? 30? And if you don't see yourself as a poet yet, change that, because we all are.
One question back here. Oh, did you have a question back here? Yeah, you. I got one, but. Oh, yeah, go ahead. It's not important.
No stupid questions.
When I think about growing up and being exposed to poetry, one particular poet stands out to me, and it's one who was almost exclusively talking to children. And I wanted to know whether anybody here had comments on that or thoughts about that kind of an influence. I'm speaking Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was so totally engaging. I had to read all his books. And I don't think that that's just me. I think there was a generation of kids that at least, you know, did the same thing. And, you know, that's the comment.
I'll answer that.
I love that question because I love the way he made up words to rhyme, but then that fantastical brain of yours would imagine the place that's not here or not anywhere that you would ever have been, but he put you there. So I feel like he created imagination in his words in a way that no writer had. So when you're a kid and you're reading it, you get lost. The way, you know, when you're older, you might get lost in a novel. Kids would get lost in his world because his world really was whatever the kids' world was. And it was individual to everybody that read it. So I thought he was very masterful in the way that maybe, you know, not necessarily selecting a proper word, but creating a word that made it into a, you know, fantastical land or something.
For me, Dr. Seuss was entertaining. He wasn't really a motivator for poetry. Honestly, I don't have one. It was just one day I decided to start writing. So I write, and then I started researching poets. I don't know their names by heart, but I do know some of their works. For me, it's not about the name behind the poem. It's about the poem itself. So even though I know who Dr. Seuss is, I promise you I couldn't tell you if it's his work or not if you wouldn't tell me, but I would know his style. So Dr. Seuss didn't start me on my journey, but he does help me like elevate because some of his wordplay is beautiful, real beautiful.
I think, well, I have certain other feelings about Dr. Seuss, and we'll leave that alone. But I think my switch flipped and unknowingly was when I started getting spoken to as an adult. So my first influence as far as poetry coming through music, my dad put on Gil Scott Heron. And I'm hearing the way he's speaking. It's not like these, you know, these gangster rappers and stuff, you know. So I'm like, what is he talking about? What is he? Where does this message come from? And he's speaking, you know, directly to you, you know, directly as the situation is going on, whenever it was happening. So hearing that style of speech was kind of what put me into a poetic mindset, because you can say anything you want at any point in time in some type of rhyme. Wow. Okay.
I had the recent pleasure, about a year or two ago, of reading at Read Across America at Belmar Elementary School for the students. And one of the books that I read to the second graders, and then after them to the fourth graders, was Green Eggs and Ham. And that is so loved by the children. To hear them listen rapturously to something they've heard over and over and over again, to the point where they can recite this, the words as I tell it to them. And I won't eat them here, I won't eat them there, I won't eat them anywhere. I can hear the song, the kids just, well, I just go like this, and they just pop it like that.
But I think that's the key to that one.
Yes.
Kids have the ability to say no in a safe space, because usually we're always bossing them around.
Yeah.
But I think that's what kids love it. I will not eat them with a fox. I will not eat them with a fox. I am 65 years old and I remember that.
Yep. So the magic of poetry, and it goes right back to what Art was talking about earlier, was that the kids just latch onto that, and that is their first exposure of poetry. And if we could just keep that building in their lives, you can imagine the way they would think as they grow older, how they evaluate things as they learn things. They're built their critical thinking skills as well. So it's definitely something important. Okay, does anybody else have any last comments or questions or anything?
Thank you.
No? Well, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I want to thank our wonderful panel of poets. Wasn't it great? As I said, Dave Delaware will be back again with us for the Juneteenth concert on June 19th here at the Ellerbe Pavilion. So be sure to check out that and the upcoming website. Thank you so much for coming, and have a great night.